because you're not communicating and you don't have clear risk posture, you're playing basketball and the execs are playing football. How would that work out? If you show up and you think we're playing basketball and they think they're playing football, they're going to throw you the ball and you're going to start dribbling. You could be like, what are you doing? Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome, my friends. You know what time it is. Buckle up, because here we go. It's time for Life of a CISO with yours truly. The doctor is in the house. Now, the last episode, we talked about becoming a CISO. What you need to do to become and get that job as a CISO. Now, I want to switch gears. Let's talk about being a CISO. You get the job, or you're currently a CISO. What are the things you need to do to become world-class? First and foremost, understand before you change. Biggest mistake that CISOs make is they want to come in and there's a new sheriff in town and we're going to change how we do things. And they start changing, modifying everything. Right? We got to put in new tech. We got to do this. And basically, they're approaching it as if the entire organization is broken. Everything that's been done is wrong. And you must put all the right things in place because you are the savior for the organization. Biggest mistake on the planet. And here's why. First, you are inheriting a security organization that's not broken. Maybe there's some things that need to be tweaked. But do you honestly believe if this company has been around for 5+ years and they might have had some breaches, but they're surviving and they're still in business, that 100% of the security is broken? Everything is completely wrong and nothing is absolutely right. No, of course not. So if you go in and you try mixing and changing, all you're doing is causing a ton of disruption, and you're probably breaking a lot of things that work. Second, you're inheriting a security team. These people work for you, and they're the ones who built it. So if you come in and basically look at them and go, okay, I'm your new boss, you work for me, and everything you've done is crap, everything you've done is garbage, we're changing everything. We're doing it my way because you don't know anything. You've just alienated your team. You've basically pissed off your team, and most likely, because they're experienced security engineers, they're going to leave. So what ends up happening is these new CISOs come in, they disrupt the organization, they break things, because if you're going in and you're trying to replace an entire infrastructure, from firewalls to SIM to behavior analytics to IPS to everything very quickly, it's going to cause problems. You're going to break things, things aren't going to work, it's going to cause chaos. So now you've come in and within 6 months, you cause chaos, things break, IT hates you because you've impacted uptime availability, executives are totally confused because things got so much worse since you've been here, and half your team got fired. Sorry, half your team quit. Well, maybe you fired them, who knows? But the point is, that's not effective. And this is why most CISOs struggle, because they come in and they think they need to take over and show they're in charge, and they alienate everyone. And everyone's annoyed, everyone's frustrated. The best thing you could do is for the first 90 to 120 days, learn. Change nothing. Unless you were brought in because there was a major breach, something was broken, and they tell you, you must fix this issue. If that's the case, then solicit your team. What do you guys think we should do? Solicit other executives, bring people in, but do not make unilateral decisions. Do not think you are in charge and it's your way or the highway. Ask for input. But most cases, you're brought in and you have long-term direction, but for the first 3 to 4 months, you should be learning and relationship building. You should be going around and spending most of the time with your team. Understand how we got here. Understand what they like and don't like. Understand what they would change or not change. Understand their frustrations. Understand what they like, what they don't like, what they enjoy. Build the rapport. Because here's the reality. If you're a CISO for the first time, most likely the one skill that is lacking the most, the one skill that is going to hurt you the most is management. Most first-time CISOs don't know how to manage a team. They don't know how to handle a team because they came from a security engineering background. They're used to being the lone wolf. They're used to being the hero. They're used to playing individual sports where winning or losing depends on them. Like golf. Golf is all about you. You show up or you don't show up. But now you're switching to football, where if you alienate your team, you're screwed. So you need to recognize that once you're a CISO, you must master the art of management. Your team is your greatest asset. You cannot alienate them. You cannot push them away. Next, the second skill you're probably lacking is relationship building. Because once again, in an individual sport, you don't really need to be buddies with the other folks because you're competing against them. In a team sport, you need to get along. So then you need to focus on building relationships with the other executives. Spending time with the CEO, CFO, COO. Spending time with vice presidents and directors. And this is hard because you're new. And when you're new, you want to prove yourself. When you're new, you want to show everybody how smart you are. When you're new, you want to show everybody how awesome you are. But the reality is when you're new, you want to find out how awesome they are. You got the job, so you can't be that bad. You got hired as the CISO of a big company. You got to have done something right. They got to have seen something. They believe in you. So you don't need to sell yourself anymore. You got the job. So the other huge mistake that especially first-time CISOs, but even second and third and fourth-time CISOs, is after they're hired, they're still interviewing. They're still going around proving to everybody how awesome they are. So they go to the COO, COO, vice president, and instead of asking, how can I help? What are your biggest challenges? What are your biggest issues? Instead, they go in and say, let me tell you how freaking awesome I am. And once again, alienate. So go in relationship building. If they ask, you can give a short little bio, but otherwise, simple. Hey, I just took over the CISO role. I want to understand the organization. I want to understand the business. I want to understand what's important to you. How can I help you? And let people talk. And then keep asking follow-up questions. Your job when you become a CISO is to extract information on how the business runs, what is critical, what is important, and how you can help them. Ask questions. Do not speak a lot. Do not provide a lot of information. You're gathering data. The first 90 days is all about team building and relationship building. After 90 days, you should have respect from your team. You should have relationships with all the other executives, and you should understand the business and how it operates. Now, you're ready to go. Now we start getting down to business. Now we start doing the work and assessing and evaluating. Once the relationships, the team is built, you have all those pieces. Now we move on. And the first thing is, what is the risk posture at this organization? What is and what is not acceptable risk? Here's the crazy part. The reason why companies get into trouble, the reason why CISOs say nobody listens, people do crazy things, they're causing all these problems, is because there's no guardrails, there's no swim lanes, they don't know. So any successful organization in cybersecurity has a risk posture. Most don't. So that's the first thing you focus on. Working with the executives on what is and what is not acceptable risk. What are we willing to tolerate and when are we not? Simple example. If you want to go and get third-party cloud services or third-party systems, simple. Any system accessible from the internet must be patched and not contain critical data. That's simple. That's one of our risk postures. If you have a system accessible from the internet that's patched without critical data, that's acceptable risk. If you have a system accessible from the internet that's not patched, it's unacceptable. If you go in and set up a new server that nobody knows about, that's unacceptable. So you're now laying out what is and is not. So now they're in a position to be able to navigate. Now, some people might not follow it. Some people might not do what they're supposed to, but now you have an enforcement mechanism, because now if you go to the execs and say, here's risks that are unacceptable that have been done by business units, you have solid backing. The problem is most CISOs have rules that they don't tell anyone. So now this business unit does something that you don't like, that you think is unacceptable risk, but they don't know. And now you go to the executive board and you're like, this is an unacceptable risk. Then they're going to fight back going, where are you making these rules? Like, you can't have rules to a game that nobody knows. The example I give in most companies is, because you're not communicating and you don't have clear risk posture, you're playing basketball and the execs are playing football. How would that work out? If you show up and you think we're playing basketball and they think they're playing football, they're going to throw you the ball and you're going to start dribbling. They could be like, what are you doing? Run! Run! You got the ball. Why are you dribbling? And then you're going to sit there and set up for the three-point. You got a perfect shot. You're about ready to shoot it. And somebody tackles you. And you're like, what the heck is going on? Why are you tackling me? You can't tackle in basketball. You're right, but you can in football. You're playing a completely different game. And that's where all the confusion and chaos comes in. Got to clear that up. Everyone's got to be playing the same game. So you got to focus on that risk posture. Notice, we're now 4 or 5 months in to the CISO, and you're just putting foundational strategic things in place because this is needed. You're not changing anything. Now, yes, if there was a major incident or there's a major problem that has to be fixed and the executives want you to fix it, that is your direction, then yes, fix it. But like I said, the organization survived without you, and most likely will continue to survive with the current security. So you're not making a ton of changes unless there's blatant exposures. If that's the case, then yes, you should focus on them. But otherwise, we want to get the core strategy. Then, once you have the rules, once you align, we're all playing the same game. We're on the same field. Here's how it works. If you stay within the risk posture, you're good. If you don't, that is an unacceptable risk. We will help you reduce it. We will give you measures and mechanisms to reduce it. But if you choose to ignore us, because you can, Mr. or Mrs. Vice President, then we're going to present that risk to the board and show it's unacceptable. And then you're going to have to explain why you're accepting this risk on behalf of the company. Simple, easy, straightforward. Now you're changing the rules, because the old game was the vice presidents and directors have all of the authority and you have all the responsibility. That's what they're used to. That's probably why the old CISO was fired. The number one reason why CISOs get fired is because there's a breach. Now think about this. That CISO most likely told everyone this is a problem, told the vice presidents they can't do this, told IT this is a huge issue, and everyone ignored him. And then when it happened, they got thrown under the bus. They got fired. It's not fair, but it is, because the CISO accepted that game. The game in which executives have authority, and you're responsible, is a losing game. You can't survive as a CISO. It's not going to work. You have to change that. And that's what you did. You now change and go, listen, you're responsible and the authority. And you're going to have to stand up and explain why you accepted that risk. Next, what are your critical assets? This is one, when I say it, it's obvious, but everyone misses it. What should you spend on security, and where should you spend it? Well, if you have one asset that's making 100 million and another asset that's making 1 million, shouldn't the 100 million asset have more attention, more focus, more security, more protection? Yeah. All assets are not created equally. So you need to know what the prioritization is. You need to know what assets are most critical. And once again, few companies have done this. Reason why they struggle. They make security equal. Everything is secured in the same manner, which means the same weaknesses across all. So breaking into a $1 million asset versus $100 million is the same. That's too easy. We need to prioritize. And once again, warning, warning, warning. You're going to get some pushback. I'm not saying this is a walk in the park. I'm not saying being a CISO is easy or simple, because they don't like to do work. They like it the old way where, hey, when things go wrong, we just fire a CISO. But it's not scalable and practical. So you have to push the executives to prioritize. Oh, all our assets are equal. No, they're not. Of course they're not. You got to prioritize the assets. You got to know what's going on. Then you need to spend time with the CFO. You need to understand the financials. Remember, what are the outer letters of CISO? Chief Officer. Chief officers always focus on profit and revenue. C blank O. If you are a C blank O, Chief blank Officer, doesn't matter the letters in between, you gotta know the business. You gotta know how it operates. So whether you're a CEO, COO, CFO, or CISO, doesn't matter the middle letters, same thing. How can you protect critical assets if you don't know what are critical? How can you protect a $100 million asset from being compromised if you don't know it's bringing in $100 million? So that's probably the biggest gap, biggest mistake of new CISOs is they ignore the finances. They ignore the business. And that's why, my friends, you're not treated as a chief officer, because you're not acting like one. If you want people to treat you a certain way, you need to act a certain way. So you need to spend time with the CFO, understanding the numbers, understanding the business, understanding the revenue, understanding the profit margins, understand how and why your organization exists. Next, out of sight, out of mind. One of the reasons why CISOs struggle is they very often sit in the technical team and not with the executives. Craziest thing. So number one advice I give to companies is all COs need to sit together. If your position starts with a C and ends with an O, you must sit together. But what ends up happening is they have the executive wing or the executive floor where the CEO, COO, CFO, chief legal counsel all sit together. And they constantly are walking into each other's office without meetings, running things, bouncing things, and dealing with things. And then either another floor or very, very often another building is your chief information security officer. out of sight, out of mind. Of course, you're not going to be included. Of course, you're not going to be present. So then what you need to do is make yourself present. Best advice I give, and when I go back and ask them, they say, Eric, by far, this was one of the critical pieces of advice. You call up the executive assistant for the CEO. There's always conference rooms, lots of conference rooms in the executive wing, because they're always meeting. And just say, hey, for this week, can you tell me, are any of the conference rooms open or available? And they'll be like, why? Because I'd like to come work there because I want to be available if they have questions and be able to ask some questions. So I want to work 4 hours, 2 days a week from the executive wing. So can you let me know when that conference room is available so I can work there? And then you work there with the door open. And you send a note. Hey, on Tuesday and Thursday from 12 to 5 or 12 to 4, I'm going to be working from the executive wing. If you have questions or want to run things by me, let me know. Initially, it'll be slow, but you'll find over time people will pop in, and all of a sudden, you're now part of the team because you're present. It's the craziest thing. If I have a question to ask and you're right there, I know you're in the conference room 10 feet away, I'll pop in and ask you. And we'll have a dialogue and we'll build a relationship. But if I know you're in another building, I'll just skip it and won't ask it. I won't call you. I won't even. It's the craziest thing of human nature. So being a CISO, you must be present with the executives. Figure it out. Get a tent. Set up a tent in the hallway. No, I'm joking. But there are ways to do it. There are offices available. There are conference rooms that are not booked 24/7. Figure it out, but you got to be present. Then, once you have all that, next step is we do a risk assessment. Maybe it's been done, maybe your team has it, maybe they don't. But we want to do an executive one, which is this. Non-technical. We want to lay out right now for the organization, what are the biggest risks? And we want 4 things. What is the risk? What is the likelihood of it occurring? What is the cost if it occurs? And what is the cost to fix it? And we want to put together the top 12 to 15. Then once we have that, we then want to present that at the next board meeting. Hey, I've been here about 9, 10 months. Just want you to be aware of here's our current risk position. Here are the current top risks that I want you to be aware of. Now, right now, we're accepting these risks. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but I just want you to be aware that there are multiple risks that have 90% chance of occurring, and if they occur, they will cost us more than $10 million, and it will be $200K to fix. I think we should fix the top 3. We don't have to. But if we don't, I just want you to be aware. There's a 90% chance over the next year we will get hit and it will cost us $10 million. Just want you to be aware. We can accept it or we can fix it. And then what they're going to come back with, well, we don't have budget, but you need to fix it anyway. Great. Have in your back pocket, here's what we're currently doing. Here's the budget you gave us for the year, and here's what we're currently doing. We're maxed out. So if you're now saying you want us to fix this risk now, which of these do you want us to ignore? Because we're maxed. So if you're going to add more, we have to take away. And this is the biggest mistake CISOs make. They want to be a hero, and they keep taking on more work. Every coaching call, every group coaching call with new clients, new groups, new companies, it's the same thing. Eric, I am overworked. My team is overworked. We have way too many things on the plate, and we can't get everything done, and key things are suffering. I'm like, great. What did the executives tell you to do? I'm like, what do you mean? Well, I'm sure you told them, right? No, never. I'm like, why aren't you communicating? If you are working 12-hour days and somebody asks you to do something else, you don't say yes. That's stupid. You know you can't do it. You go, listen, I know you just asked me to do X, but let me show you what I'm currently doing. What don't you want me to do? Because I can't do it all. We're maxed. We're beyond maxed. We're working 12 to 15-hour days. Things are not getting done. Things are falling off the plate. We are beyond max. So if you want me to do something new, tell me what you want me to stop doing. Powerful, very professional, easiest thing. For some crazy reason, CISOs don't do that. They just keep saying yes, 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 yes. Well, you can't. You're going to basically blow the place up, and that's what normally happens. Where then all the key things don't get done. All you're doing is putting out fires. And here's the problem. If 100% of your time is firefighting, you're not improving, you're not maintaining, and you will deteriorate very quickly and run the plane into the ground. You cannot fight fires 100%. So you got to push back. We can't do this. So there's going to be some things that don't get done. I want your input. The most professional thing you can do is ask for advice from your superiors. Ask for advice from your boss. Go, listen, here's risks that are not being addressed. Here's what we're currently doing. If you want us to do one of these, then tell us which of these to go away. But we can't do this. This is full-time. This is beyond full-time. So I'm giving you all the data. If these are higher priority, then tell us what not to do, but we can't do it all. And now you're giving them visibility. Now, they have to decide what's most important. Or they have to decide to give you more resources or more people. So communicating what you're doing, communicating what you're currently focused on, and communicating any new risk or exposure is critical. Then, once you have all that and you're clear, these are the risks you're focusing on right now. Now, you make sure you have a program manager and you manage and track the projects. You make sure you stay on track. Because here's the reality. Most security engineers who are going to work for you that are going to implement are not good at time management. They're not good at project management. They're not good at tracking. And if you have them do it, it's going to be a disaster. Almost any good security team has a PM. Got to have somebody manage projects, keep them on track. And then you need to have weekly or daily meetings with your team to make sure you're tracking correctly. So now you have your plan, you know what the highest risks are, you know what you're working on. Final piece. Security is not static. New threats, new risks, new exposures are going to come up all the time. So you then have to keep tracking them and quarterly update the executive team. Hey, here's what we're currently doing, but guess what? New risks just came on the scene. New threat vector, we are vulnerable, 95% chance of occurring. How do you want us to handle this? Do you want us to put something on hold? Do you want us to put something else? And now they're seeing the impact. Wait a second. This project is behind schedule because we keep putting it on hold. So if we keep doing that, that's impacting the organization to do this. So either we kill that project or maybe we bring on more resources. And then eventually what will happen is, without you having to force it, they're going to realize you're understaffed. They're going to realize you don't have a big enough team, and they'll eventually give you more resources. But you're doing it in a professional way. What most CISOs do is they don't give any data, they don't give any information, and they just complain. We need more resources, we need more budget, we need more this. And all the executives are like, we don't see any issues. You're not giving us any data to support it. Oh, that's security whining again, and they ignore you. Present the data, present the information, and let them draw the conclusion. You don't ask for more resources. You just say, listen, here's what we're doing, here's the issue, and you want us to do it all and we can't. How would you like us to handle it? And then they're going to eventually figure that out. So notice, Being a CISO is a lot more strategic. Being a CISO is a lot more understanding and management. And being a CISO is all about understanding and working and building a team instead of trying to be a one-person show. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Life of a CISO. We'll see you next week.